the angel trap. Detective Carey was haunted by not being able to save previous victims, which made her the perfect target for Amanda Young. But here's the thing, Carey wouldn't be able to beat her trap no matter what she did. She woke up suspended in a harness with her ribs locked into a mechanical device. The instructions were clear. Retrieve a key from a vat of acid to unlock herself. And Carey did exactly that. She plunged her hand into the acid, suffering horrific burns, but she got that key. She unlocked the padlock, just like the tape told her to. By Jigsaw's rules, she should have lived, but the trap didn't release her. The timer expired, and the device violently tore her ribcage open anyway. Why? Because Amanda had sabotaged the mechanism. The key and lock were completely useless. Survival was impossible, no matter what Carey did. This wasn't a test of will or redemption like Jigsaw claimed. It was just murder disguised as a choice. But Carey's rigged trap wasn't the only one designed to kill regardless of the victim's efforts. The Brazen Bull. Bobby Dagan built his entire career on a lie about surviving a jigsaw trap. So when the real disciples came for him, they used his wife Joyce as leverage, trapping her inside a brazen bull. The rules seemed straightforward enough. Bobby had to lift himself using hooks through his chest to reach a height that would save Joyce. This was supposed to mirror the fake ordeal he'd been claiming to survive for years. Bobby actually tried. He impaled his chest with the hooks and attempted to hoist himself up. But here's the problem. The human body simply cannot support that kind of weight through flesh. The hooks inevitably tore through Bobby's chest before he could reach the necessary height. The challenge was physically impossible, which meant Joyce was always going to burn alive in that bull. Bobby's efforts were meaningless from the start. At least Bobby had a chance to try. Some victims didn't even get that luxury. The death mask. Michael Marks was a police informant who betrayed his associates.
You've made a living watching others. Society would call you an informant, a rat, a snitch.
He woke up with the Venus flytrap, a steel mask lined with nails locked around his head. The instructions seemed simple. The key to his freedom was behind his own eye, surgically implanted. He had a scalpel and 60 seconds to retrieve it. Michael frantically tried to work up the courage to cut out his own eye, but he hesitated, unable to inflict that kind of gruesome wound on himself. Time ran out, and the mask snapped shut, driving nails into his skull. But think about what was actually being asked here. Remove your own eye with a scalpel, extract a key, and unlock a complex mechanism, all in 60 seconds while in a state of complete panic. The psychological barrier alone makes this nearly impossible for any normal person. The time limit was so short that even if someone could overcome the mental block of self-mutilation,
they'd still probably run out of time fumbling with the lock, if they didn't pass out. Michael's hesitation killed him. But the next victim had no time to hesitate at all. The wire saw trap. Valentina was one of the fake doctors who scammed John Kramer in Mexico. She woke up chained with her leg marked for amputation and 3 minutes to extract bone marrow.
Valentina, look at me. Look at me. You can do this. No.
Valentina actually started sawing through her own leg. She somehow endured the excruciating pain and managed to sever the limb completely. Then she inserted the vacuum device into her femur and began the marrow extraction process. She did everything right, followed every instruction, pushed through unimaginable agony. But the marrow extraction was too slow. Even with her leg completely removed, she couldn't get the required amount fast enough. The timer expired, and a razor wire mechanism beheaded her.
No.
The task was mathematically impossible. The human body doesn't produce marrow quickly enough to meet those requirements in that time frame. Valentina died not because she lacked determination, but because the laws of physics worked against her. Some traps killed through impossible time constraints, but others killed through human betrayal. The shotgun collar. Dr. Lynn Denlin was kidnapped to keep John Kramer alive through emergency brain surgery. Amanda fitted her with a shotgun collar connected to John's heart monitor. If he died, she died. Lynn successfully performed the brain surgery under impossible conditions. She kept the dying serial killer alive against all odds, proving her medical skill and will to survive. By every measure, she'd completed her test. But Amanda refused to release her. Amanda was emotionally unstable and jealous of the attention John gave Lynn. She shot Lynn anyway, just as Jeff, Lynn's husband, arrived on the scene. Jeff killed Amanda in retaliation, then made his own choice about John's fate. He slashed John's throat, which triggered Lynn's collar. It exploded, killing her instantly. Lynn's survival had nothing to do with her own actions or choices. She did everything perfectly, but she died because of Amanda's jealousy and Jeff's decision to kill John. No amount of medical skill or determination could save her from factors completely outside her control. Lynn trusted the wrong person, but the next victim was betrayed from the very beginning.
The laser collar.
Detective Halloran found himself in what appeared to be a final test with Logan, both wearing laser collars. The rules seemed straightforward. Admit your guilt, and you'll be spared. Both men were subjected to psychological torment as the lasers activated. Halloran, believing the game was real, admitted his guilt and expected to be freed according to Jigsaw's usual rules. He followed the instructions perfectly and confessed his wrongdoings.
But Logan was secretly orchestrating the entire game. He faked his own death and revealed himself as the true mastermind behind everything. Despite Halloran's compliance with the stated rules, Logan activated the collar anyway, slicing Halloran's head open.
Now I speak for the lives ruined by people like you. Murderers, rapists.
The confession was meaningless because Logan never intended to let him survive. This wasn't about redemption or learning a lesson. Logan used Jigsaw's methods for pure revenge, making Halloran's choices irrelevant. The trap was rigged from the start by someone who had no intention of following Jigsaw's twisted code. At least Halloran could speak his confession. The next victim's voice became her death sentence. The silent circle. A woman woke up surrounded by metal spikes with one simple rule. If she made any sound, the spikes would fire and kill her. The only escape was for another person to pull a key through her throat.
Bobby, help me! Get me out of here!
As the key was dragged up through her throat and out her mouth, the pain was absolutely excruciating. She tried desperately to remain silent, knowing that even the smallest sound would trigger her death. But the agony was so intense that involuntary screams escaped her lips. The spikes fired immediately, killing her. The trap exploited basic human biology. When you're in extreme pain, your body produces involuntary responses, including vocal ones. Asking someone to stay completely silent while having a metal object dragged through their throat is like asking them to stop their heart from beating. It's not a matter of willpower or determination. The human nervous system doesn't work that way. Her screams were an automatic biological response, but some victims faced traps that were mechanically broken from the beginning. The classroom trap. Troy was a repeat offender who woke up in a classroom with chains piercing through his arms, legs, and jaw. He had to rip them all out before a bomb detonated. Troy frantically tore the chains from his arms and legs, enduring massive pain but making progress. Then he reached the chain through his jaw and realized the horrible truth. It was impossible to remove without fatal injury. You can't rip a chain through your jawbone and survive the damage. But even if Troy had somehow managed to free himself from every chain, investigators later discovered that the door had been welded shut. There was no escape route even if he'd completed the seemingly impossible task. The trap had multiple layers of impossibility stacked on top of each other. Troy was alone in his death, but the final trap took multiple victims at once.
The cycle trap. Multiple victims woke up chained in a barn, each wearing a collar attached to a winch, pulling them toward spinning blades. They were told confessing their sins would stop the machine.
Hello, Mitch. You've admitted to selling a boy a motorcycle. But you've not told the entire story, have you? Even though you knew the brakes were faulty. You took his $600.
As the winches activated, the victims struggled desperately to free themselves. Some managed to confess their wrongdoings, following the stated rules, but the machine kept spinning regardless of their confessions. The spinning blades claimed victim after victim, shredding anyone who couldn't escape in time. The setup was so chaotic, and the machine moved so fast that there was virtually no time for strategy or careful planning. Unlike other jigsaw traps that gave victims time to think and choose, this one operated on pure speed and violence. Human reaction time simply wasn't fast enough to deal with the mechanical precision of the death machine. These victims died in seconds, with no real opportunity to prove their will to live.
If you enjoyed this video and want to see the most painful deaths from Scream, click the video on screen.